Good evening, and if you're just tuning in, you are listening live to the Rock. I can't even talk this evening. Broadcasting to you live out of New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm your host, Lorilei Potvin, a Canadian clairvoyant medium, crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher and mentor, and a registered nurse. And I want to say welcome to all of our returning viewers, as well as welcome to anybody that's new. Please make sure to share my show as well as all of the incredible shows that we have here on UPRN, United Public Radio Network, or sometimes as it's known, UFO Paranormal Radio Network. We have, like I say, as I usually do with my shows, we have something for everybody always here. So, and then when we're not streaming live, we have some syndicated shows. We also have a lot of older content that runs through the archive server here. And most of our platforms like SoundCloud, we've got Podbean, we've got all kinds. Anywhere there's podcasts and talk radio carried, we are carried. Now with my show, if you've never been here before, I say cover all aspects of the esoteric, the spiritual, the supernatural. I have some truth seeking thrown in there. And yeah, that's pretty well it. What I do is the guests that I have on here, whether they're professionally or extracurricularly, are making a positive difference for humanity. And the guest I have on this evening is a friend of mine. I had her on probably well over a year ago. She's done some big changes, made some big changes herself in what she's doing, still sticking with the same field, but some exciting things we're going to talk about. She's a fellow Canadian. I'm going to read her bio, but before I do, I want to give you guys a heads up, as I always do. I'll try to remember during the show. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel or on my Facebook profile, I can't see your comments till after the show. So please come over to the Facebook page for the network. It's called UFO Paranormal Radio. I believe all you have to do is like it, and then you'll be able to see the live stream over there. And I will see what you write down or what you say. I like to involve you guys always in part of the conversation if you're watching live with us. Or you can also participate on the UFO Paranormal Radio YouTube channel, and we have a secondary channel we're using this evening, UFO Gods and Extraterrestrial. My mouth does not want to work tonight, guys. Sorry. UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials. There we go. We do have a third channel as well called International Public Radio. We won't be streaming there this evening, but like I said, the two YouTube channels and the Facebook profile. So let me read my friend's wonderful bio that she sent me. It says, mindfulness and intuitive communication have been the backbone of her journey, both professionally and in the personally and in the professional sector. She's prospered in personal development and enjoys the fascination of being an olive branch to encourage others on their healing path also. Elevating others in the capacity of both their personal and professional lives to reach their potential is an incredible journey. Accredited as a certified somatic and compassionate coach, she's facilitated, coached, and spent numerous hours empowering people to live their best lives, creating positive change. Combining somatic identification, we'll talk about what exactly that is, and solution-based orientation together in mindfulness that is imperative to consciousness has been a beautiful pairing in what awakening to the body as a whole can create in our healing evolution. And everybody needs to do healing, believe me. Integrating what is known as the solar plexus, one of the chakras, the third eye, another one, and metaphysical consciousness, and in brackets she's got STM, a technique called Soma Vision is born. Using the facets of body, mind, spirit in this collaboration, we discover our shadow pieces and the self-actualization of our soul's true nature. Usui Reiki plays a significant role in this transformation. Now, she's got quite a long bio here. I'm not going to read the last part, but I encourage you. We're going to let you guys know at the end of the show where to reach out to her. She's amazing. Welcome. Her name is Raine Dalrymple. Welcome, Raine. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Laurel. Thank you.
That's quite the bio you sent me. Holy cow.
Well,
I didn't.
And I even left a lot of stuff out because if you remember when I was on, how long ago was that? A little over a year ago, maybe.
Yeah, a little over a year ago. Yeah.
I left all that stuff out because I kind of feel like, that's in the past and now I'm moving forward, right? So
Well, plus you
I don't
get
need to
my
hear all
bio
of it
is,
all over again.
I know my bio is super long. And when I send it to people, so I've come with this pared down little piece for people, right? Because people get there's a lot of buzzwords in our field.
Yeah,
Some people may not have heard the term. I have recently
there is.
discovered light worker, which is sort of the buzz term of the century or the last probably couple decades of
Mm-hmm.
the type of work that
Mm-hmm.
we both do. No, the other thing I forgot to mention to people, I've told Raine already this. My phone has been crazy. It has its own mind of its own. I have no idea why, but it's happened only once. But if I suddenly disappear, guys, and you're watching and listening, you're going, what the heck just happened? My phone went into the spinning wheel of death. I just love iPhones for that. I have my laptop on my lap here. So I've already let Raine know she's just going to continue talking. If that does happen, I'll hop right on my computer, and I'm always prepared just in case. So, Raine, where do we start with all this? I guess, you know what? I
Well,
always
I
start at the
just,
beginning. Oh, go ahead.
well, I kind of wanted to just say, if you see me like flinching, it's because there's like flies all over here.
Oh,
It's crazy. The
no.
last 2-3 weeks, they've just been like, whether I'm at home or at work, they're just everywhere. In the vehicle, like it's
Mhm.
crazy. So if you just see
Yeah,
me
we
flinching,
have
it's,
one. And what we've
that's
had,
what it is.
I should mention, well, I usually do, my hubby, the Dell, he's got his own show, The Delicious Recipe, on Thursday nights. By the way, I'll give him a good plug because I'm going to be on there with him. We're having one of
Oh,
our favorite guests that we're doing a series with on the Da Vinci Code, Tom Riley. So you guys don't want to miss that, 7 p.m.
wow.
Central, no, Eastern Standard Time on Thursday night. Anyways, we talked about this on his show last week. And we have had a yellow jacket infestation. They finally called an
Oh.
exterminator because they were going in through the window well, like up, they're going up into the fascia. I just saw one on the screen. Or is that your cat? It was that.
No, that's the flies. They love
I
going on the
thought
camera.
so.
I don't know what their deal is.
Well,
Oh,
maybe
it's
they're
so
into
weird.
spirituality,
Yeah.
because I will tell you, I
I,
just found
you
another
know,
one in the house today. And all the animals are acting very strange. I've seen Canada geese flying at 11 o'clock at night. Massive numbers, look like they're flying in V
mm,
formation to the south, not to the
wow,
north, like crazy stuff. So
that
we'll,
is
we'll,
crazy.
we'll
I
have
have a
to reel
crazy
those flies
story
away.
for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
Actually, I have a crazy story that happened to me 2 or 3 days ago. So I was
Okay.
driving out to a friend's house,
Mm-hmm.
and I had my area, my space was clear. I didn't have anything on my lap. I didn't have, because I had the pets with me,
Right.
right, as I always do. And I
Mm-hmm.
threw my purse on the floor so that it was out of the way. And I put my hand down on, I had a sundress on, and I put my hand down just to rest my hand, and I felt something cold there, and I'm like, what the heck?
Mm.
And I reached down, and here I pull up, it was a dime. It was a dime on my lap out of nowhere. Okay. So how did that dime even get there? I had a dress on when I got into the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
I was walking, obviously. So then I started getting a cramp in my hand. So I dropped it, and I stretched my hand out to, and then I put my hand back down. I go to grab the dime again. I pull up a quarter. I was just like, wow, this is just too freaky. Okay. I just said, guys, thanks. They're
Are
just
you
telling me it's
sure
going to be
it
okay,
wasn't?
right?
Are you
Absolutely.
sure it wasn't a loved one? Because I know loved ones sometimes will do that. I haven't heard quarters, but dimes. But you know what?
Yeah.
Depending on if you've got somebody across the veil that maybe wanted to
Yeah.
let you know, like you said, thanks, guys. That could have been our guides, could have been
Yeah.
angels, anybody.
Yeah.
But it almost feels like it was someone that loves you very
Yeah. I
deeply that
used to
was just
find
saying hello.
pennies all the time.
Inflation.
Yeah. Could have been my grandmother, right? Yeah,
That's,
inflation.
yeah,
Exactly. But
that's,
nonetheless, the message was received. And I just, that's the whole reason I feel that I do what I do, is because when weird things happen, I share that message with others to give them hope too, right? Because our guides and our angels and, our gurus, like whether it's Buddha or Jesus or God, they're all looking out over us. and for us, right?
Yeah, we're
So
not here.
that's
We're
the
never
cool thing.
alone. I always tell people, and you know what? You meet so many people that even when I do readings with people, they're at a crossroads. They want to know why they're here. You know, how a lot of people believe
Mhm.
we're just here by accident, not realizing. And
Yeah.
again, I don't have all the answers. I don't think any of us do, but I truly believe, and we've had many
Mhm.
conversations off air, that we're here for a reason, right? Like we chose this life that we're in.
Yes.
We chose why we're here. So let's start at the beginning. So
Mhm.
what got you all involved in all of this? Because a lot of people, we got a lot more different viewers now, and a lot bigger numbers. So
Right.
let them know. Mm-hmm.
Right. So my initial book, I mean, I worked in the helping profession for about
Mm-hmm.
25 years, and that was, helping people with disabilities and teaching life skills to people coming out of the provincial system, the whole 9 yards. And of course, you're always training. You're always going to workshops, and you're always
Mm-hmm.
enhancing your education
Yep.
when you're working. In my 20s, however, I started having visions. And so I do talk about this in my book, Sight Beyond Sight. I started having visions, like, just like you would a dream, but your eyes are open, or you're just laying there in a meditative state, and you see things, and things, and just weird things like that really started happening to me. And so, I do come from a family of the paranormal. My great grandmother
Mm-hmm.
read tea leaves, and my grandmother was
Mm-hmm.
a psychic. Her
Mm-hmm.
her messages usually came through her dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So when she passed away,
Right.
my gift actually increased. It was really weird because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
recognize it until about 6 months after she had gone, and
Right.
I, just kind of everything fell into place as far as my understanding. So it really just sent me on a journey of self-exploration and growth.
Right.
Um, I'm also a survivor of abuse in childhood. So it really was instrumental. The whole spiritual aspect was instrumental in helping me to heal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you combine their input, education, and my personal growth. I only wanted others to heal as I had, right? So
Yeah.
that's what kind of launched me into it.
You reminded me. My son never asked me this. Many of you that follow the show have seen most of my family members. So Dell's at work, but usually he has been known to show up here and bring me something to eat for supper so he can pop on and say hi. Like I can eat while I'm
An excuse
talking,
to get
but
on camera. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And my son with severe autism, that's what made me think about that. That takes a very special person to do what you were doing. And I'm so grateful
Yeah.
and thank you for the work you were doing to be able to work with people with special needs and disabilities. And my son has severe autism, for those of you maybe new watching, but he asked me, and again,
Mm-hmm.
he's never
Well,
asked me this, to
they teach us so much.
absolutely. He's one of my biggest teachers. So is my eldest son, but him especially.
Mm-hmm.
But he asked me to say hello from Justin. So I told him I would say that
Oh,
he said
how
hello.
sweet.
I Yes, I
Oh,
told him, I said, people know who you are, you know. He goes, they do. And
yeah,
I said, yeah, because you popped in here a few times in the background. Or I
yeah,
said, I talk
yeah,
about you and your brother a lot on my show, so they know who you are.
yeah.
So, anyways, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I promised him I would say
Oh
hello
no,
from Justin.
absolutely, absolutely, and it's so true. I mean, they're gifts to us because we learn so much from them. It's an
Mm-hmm.
interrelational uh, communication, right? I mean, you're
Well,
sharing
it
ideas with
is.
them, and they're
It
sharing
is.
ideas with you, and
Both my children have, as most of us that are aware of our intuitive gifts, we recognize them usually pretty early in our own children. And my eldest is
mm,
very intuitive. He's always spoken to animals, but I never tried to cure my youngest son, but he had a lot of difficulties. He wasn't verbal till he was almost 7 or toilet trained. He,
mm,
had a lot of anxiety, a lot of really aggressive behavior, never out of the blue. but there was always a reason. But then again, I always say behavior
Right.
never happens out of the blue. There's always a reason. So
There's a
anyways,
reason, yeah.
I had brought him for alternative health, healing, because we're talking about healing here. Alternative healing things like, what was it? Quantum healing. I forget. I haven't got the right name, but I remember the lady that tried to do it with him, and he was about 3.5, 4, and she had tried for about half an hour, 40 minutes, and she came back to me. I was at the back of the room so as not to interrupt, and she said, I have never encountered another human being that is so powerful through their third eye as your son. She said, your son will not allow me to enter through his third eye. And then the one thing I found a little disappointing is she said, and he has the most incredible aura. I don't even have the words to describe it. For those that may not be aware what an aura is, we have energy in our bodies all around us. I always describe it as, that might sound too woo-woo for people, but most people know what personal space is. Somebody you don't know well that steps into your personal space, most people will back up automatically because it just feels icky. That's your aura or energy field. So she explained this beautiful royal blue violet color. And what I was disappointed about it was, at the time, because I wasn't quite aware of my gifts that have always been there all life at that time, I said, well, what does that mean? And she said, I have no idea. Why mention it? Because
She just saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, she saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So this is,
if you remember the Celestine prophecy, he talked about auras, and he talked about the plants having an aura around them. And if you wanted to practice seeing auras, that's what you would do. You would go out into the forest and you would just focus on this plant, and you would eventually see the aura. Another part to aura is that you feel aura, right? If you look at our pets, they always say, like, if you're not sure whether to have someone in your circle, just introduce them to your pets, and they'll tell you who's a safe person to be around or not, right? So we know that everything has life. Everything has life, right?
And energy, right? Like, going to that scientific basis, everything is energy on this planet. And I always say, the laws of physics, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be transferred from one place to another. And it's interesting that you mentioned about animals. Both of us are major animal lovers, and I know you are, I am. But I always say to people, say I'm doing a show with somebody or even talking to somebody privately about the paranormal. First thing I always ask them is, are you around any young children? What are the kids saying, or what are you observing? And then what are your pets doing? What do you see with your pets? Because even now my eldest son is actually, because my youngest can communicate with animals as well. But I think it's a gift we all have, but we have forgotten that language, if you will, as we get older, many of us. So I'm working on that right now as a skill, because I believe, like, there's your flies there that, are annoying when they get near us and what have you. But they also, there's reasons why we have metaphors, right? A fly on the wall, or a monkey on our back, or whatever it may be when you break it down. But animals see so much, especially animals that fly. They can get into places that we've never seen, or what. They're a great source of information, but I also don't just think the information. They can teach us, they can heal us. Some of them come in as guides. I refer to them as angels on earth, our domesticated pets especially.
Right. Yeah. And deer, when you're driving, and I just about hit a deer the other day. Like, it's like, oh wow! And it was a good thing I didn't have my brights on, because I had my brights on, and I shut them off because there was a car coming, and then all of a sudden, there was this deer in front of me, like pretty much about 3/4 of the way across the vehicle, and had I seen that deer sooner, I probably would have panicked. So it was just the way that it happened was beautiful. But flies, I think I recall them it's about like studiousness and like the study of,
Mm-hmm.
and creativity and
Mm-hmm.
business sense and all that stuff. So it's logical, if you think of it
Mm-hmm.
logically, that
Mm-hmm.
they're all buzzing around, because what are we doing? We're on here and we're talking about all kinds of good stuff, right? So
Well, you
it's
know what, though, with flies too, from this study, and I go with what resonates with me, like, Dell and I joke about this, is, you have, and this isn't a show about making a debate about meat versus not meat, but my whole point is you get people that are vegetarian or vegan, and I don't care what people eat. If you're healthy and you're happy, that's all that, and nourished, that's what matters, right?
right.
But when there's judgment with it, yet it's getting proven in science, we're seeing this. Never mind that with the plant world, for example, they're sentient. They react to positivity versus
Mm-hmm.
negativity. There's a woman, and
Right.
I wish I could figure out how she did it. She didn't have an audio background, but she went into a field of sunflowers, and she was able to put somehow some type of microphone on one of the sunflowers, and they were singing. It picked it up. And
Oh,
I getting
wow.
goosebumps how you picked it up. So you've got plants, or like mushrooms apparently are like a hive mind, all connected. The trees, I mean, grounding, you can look that
Mm-hmm.
up. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a hippy dippy
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
There's truth to it. Whereas
Yeah.
flies and insects, they're saying have a hive mind. And if you think about that, though, right, with a hive mind, everybody, although you may be sharing the same thoughts
Mm-hmm.
or what have you, there's got to be cooperation. There's got to be togetherness. There's got to operate as
Mm-hmm.
oneness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what a lesson to be learned from that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking
So,
of the microphone on the sunflowers,
mm-hmm,
I know they had done a study a few years
mm-hmm,
ago, just studying like fruits and vegetables and that sort of thing. And they had
mm-hmm.
somehow recorded lettuce being cut,
Ooh,
and
okay.
it actually cried. Like they could
Oh my
hear like
God, that breaks my heart.
on this some kind of a microphone. So I mean, we can be vegetarian, but like according to this study, they were saying that basically I think the point was to show people scientifically that everything has life.
Has life, yes,
Everything.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Absolutely. Now you've got a
Mm-hmm.
new book
Mm-hmm.
out. I had it in front of me. You know what? You go ahead and tell them the title, because otherwise I bend down and grab the computer again. But it's a
It's
collection
called
of
it's
stories.
called Holistic Oracle.
Thank you. I knew it was something
Go ahead.
oracle. I don't want to miss the wrong word. And don't get me wrong, I am not minimizing the word holistic, because I think that is one of the most important words when we're
Mm-hmm.
looking at healing, because really I love the trilogy of healing with, uniting mind, body,
Mm-hmm.
spirit. And most people that may not be used to the word of healing in the aspect we're going to be talking about is we're trying to pull apart, a lot of those parts of ourselves, say from childhood or some of the things that we've experienced more difficult in life, and help process it and basically release it, because that's part of the healing journey. I know there's much more to it, but go ahead, tell them all about it, about your book, and what got you started with this, your
Well,
coaching, but everything.
yeah, I'm not sure what got me started on it. I guess it was if I were to pinpoint what I was feeling at the time, it was, we've been through a lot in the last few years. The
Mm-hmm.
last 3 years of the shifting that's going on globally. We know we've had change happen for decades and hundreds of years. That's obvious. I mean, you look at the evolution of people and the earth. We've grown and we continue to grow. The last 3 years, however, were extremely difficult
Oh,
and
yes.
debilitating on most of us, to say the least, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
lots of loss of jobs, loss of our health,
Relationships.
loss of freedom, loss of changes in the school systems, changes in sexuality, because we know that now they're saying there's more than two sexes of male and female. The list is endless. I don't even know all of them at this point, but just everything that we've gone through, the shift shifting. Some of it has been good. We can't negate that, because technology can be a beautiful thing, but we also see how it's really shaken the foundation of people's beliefs. It's turned people against each other because of the political aspects across the world.
And belief systems. I'm going to throw in there about, reminding part of the conversation. You and I have talked about this a lot off air. So we're being very careful about how we navigate this, especially with it being YouTube. Plus, we're not trying to offend anybody in any way. We're just stating some facts that we have noticed, that there's been a real division, especially, I think, which was really revealing, because I keep saying, I think that this time period, you hear people say the apocalypse, it's the end of the world. When you look at the world apocalypse, I know you understand this, Raine, but for people listening maybe that haven't heard this before, that the word apocalypse basically means revealing which was once hidden. So I think we're in a real period right now and upcoming where things are going to be revealed, truths are going to come out that we never ever thought we had ever heard of or seen. And it's really dividing people instead of putting our differences aside. And I've said this many times on the show, if we could just agree to disagree and unite as one right now and present a united front, okay, that, even of love or whatever you feel, because it's so important, unity right now, I believe, with what's going on globally. We've seen families fractured. We have seen relationships fractured. But when you look at
it, and it's not that this stuff wasn't going on before, but the thing of it is,
it's got a magnifying glass.
It's been magnified. And
that's all I was going to add. That's all I was going to add, Raine, was that what I was looking at, it's so easy to see things from the outside looking in, but a lot of relationships that's, for example, maybe that have ended, and I can't begin to tell you just personally how many I have seen. This really put a magnifying glass on things that maybe potentially would have happened when you had more time to spend together, or maybe you were engaged and you were planning on getting married. Like, again, nobody's saying that they were going to end eventually, but I think it magnified issues that either needed to be worked on, or there was a chasm so deep that the time spent apart at work and busy life, you weren't able to see it. That with this time period, there's one of the gifts right there. Sorry, go ahead. I know you were going to say a lot. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, I'm like, my mind's just all over the place because there is so much to say about it, right? I mean, so, we look at, okay, well, we see all of this devastation. And as we say, there's been devastation for eons of time, but this has been magnified. So how can we create positive change to help one another? And like you say, to unite. Well, one of the ways that we can do that is by bringing in healing modalities. And that's what the book is about, is the Holistic Oracle. There's 17 of us, and we come from so many different walks of professionalism. So there's healers, artists, practitioners, all from different walks of life. So we've got one gal, for example, that is an essential oils expert. And I have her little kit, because I'll tell you, I use it daily, right? For, my sinuses, or, she was telling me she doesn't get out of bed till she puts frankincense on the bottom of her feet, right? So, it's to remember that, though,
for people,
right? Because
why does she use particularly frankincense?
I think, I mean, I don't want to steal her thunder. She'll, eventually reveal that.
Okay, I got you. I just thought people are probably thinking out loud, like, well, why does she do that? Like,
I think it acts as a cleanser.
There you go. Perfect.
So a detoxer, right, for your body, and also like boost your immune system, right?
There you go. That's what I meant. So like, just because people are going to go, why does somebody do that? Listening.
Yeah. Why would they do that? Yeah, it's an oil, right? And we've got a realignment coach that she has a process that she does, and she goes up into the Akashic records, and you're familiar with the Akashic records, but maybe some of our viewers aren't, like you say. So the Akashic Records is a place in the heavenly realm that stores all of the files of our past, present, and future lives, right?
Of
So people visit
everything.
there.
Of everything.
Of everything.
Even
that's
buildings.
why it's so important what we say.
Yep.
That's why it's so important that what we say, we be careful of what we say. When we're talking bad about people, or we're gossiping, or we're judging people, even in our thoughts, that's all laid out. It's all laid out there. So then when we go before our maker, when we cross over to the other side, we will meet our judgment team there that reminds us not only of the bad things, but of the good things, right? So it's really important that we hold integrity, and we hold honesty and love, love one another. This is what I think this last 3 years has really shown us. I don't know how many times I've been in situations where I've had to bite my tongue now, because I just go, don't even go there, right? Don't even go there, right? Because it's not worth it to be dragged into the trauma piece, right? So we're learning something out of all of this. We have to look at, the things that we're learning that are positive. Oh, she just seems persistent in being on film today.
No, she can come on. That's fine. Everybody loves to see pets.
Yeah,
and I always say
Nova.
to people,
this is Nova.
What's her name? Noma? It's
Nova.
Nova.
And she sits.
Okay.
Nova.
Okay.
Yeah, and she sits under the light, and she'll just blink her eyes and I call her Nova Star, because and then she just blinks her eyes, because you're calling her Nova Star. So she's really
But do you find, I find this happens all the time. What was I doing? I forget. It was recently, and it was something, I don't know if I was making a video or what it was, and I was shocked that the animals were there. And then I realized I wasn't, because every time I do a reading, anytime there's healing work, anytime there's anything, my
they're there.
Animals are just drawn, drawn in, right? Because they can feel the energy. So that's probably why your cat Nova is here. She's beautiful. Because what I was going to say, think about it. Well, think about it. When you're watching a podcast, right? Because I had a lovely lady on a couple of weeks ago, and she's actually going to be on it, I think, in 2 or 3 weeks again. We're going to talk about signs and symbols and stuff. And she does astrology, and she had a little dog, and she was so worried. She said, my husband's coming home. I've got the dog out because she might bark. I said, let her in. And she didn't, but I said, let her in, because I said, think about when you watch podcasts. I love when you realize they're just everyday regular people. Their animals want to be a part of it, or like I said, my son Justin will pop in, or because it shows other people that you're just regular, everyday people, that
real life
you
people.
You feel like you've got something that you want to say, and grateful for the people that tune in or may hear it. But it gives, I think, other people encouragement that, hey, you can do this too. Right?
That's true. Yeah. And we're entering a different realm of understanding, because we are working from home sometimes now, right? Some are working from home full time, but we definitely are working from home more often now, and we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So it's really important for us to, like you say, be ourselves, be our natural person, and just allow, the events to unfold as they do, right? I mean, if we were in real life, that'd be happening. We'd be sitting in a meeting, and doors would be opening, and there's one of our flies again. So
they want to be part.
So let's see, who else do we have? We've got an intuitive recalibrator. So
so what happens with that? What is somebody that has that title? What do they do?
Well, so for example, we know intuition. We know what intuition is. It's that gut feeling, right? It's that I myself do readings as well. And, I use the angel cards, and I do, I can just grab it from the sky if, someone wants to,
You're very
know a few
intuitive.
things. Yeah. So we incorporate that in the work that we do. So that's what she brings to the table as far as the intuitive piece. And then the recalibrator she's got a few different modalities that she's trained in, and she's been in the field for quite a long time. And so she helps people to take what's going on in their life. And, when you calibrate something, you create change, right? You roll it forward. Think of an engine or like something moving forward, a wheel. So she combines those two pieces to help you change your life, right?
Oh, I like it.
Recreate who you want to be, right? So she looks at memory, and some people believe that you have to be in therapy for like 10 years to get better, right? I mean, let's face it, if you're in therapy for 10 years and nothing's changed, then you might want to change psychiatrist, because something's not going right there. And myself, like I believe I'm the kind of person, like, I need to understand something. I'm sure you've heard of bars. So Reiki, there's a few of us that have our Reiki certification. So,
well, I'm a crystal.
energy.
I'm crystal Reiki. I do crystal.
You
I'm
do
a crystal Reiki master.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, you use the crystals. I do the Asui. Yeah. So, we use our hands. We're basically a conduit.
I call myself the mailman.
God.
Yeah.
You call it, the
mailman. I'm delivering from, I'm the conduit or the mailman.
Yeah, you're delivering. That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. So, God, source, and our guides and our animal spirit guides and the master angels come in to help us, right? To deliver that healing, as you say, right? So when I look at myself and the modalities that I've created and how I interact with my clients, is that I help them first to identify what, if they can, because people can't always identify what's wrong. There's something wrong, say they're having pains in their knees or their stomach or whatever. Maybe they don't even recognize that they're having pain, right? So, I help them identify, first of all, what the pain is and where it's coming from, if they can pinpoint it, and then walk them through an interactive, somas of the body. So it's an interactive process that helps them to tap in.
Okay.
Tap in is going on in their body. So for example, let's say I woke up this morning and my stomach was upset. And, I don't know why, because I was sleeping all night. So I might want to tap in to understand what's going on in my body. And to do that, I first focus on going to the solar plexus, which you're familiar with the chakras, of course. For those people that aren't, there's 7 chakras. The major ones, anyway. We know there's all kinds of other chakras in the system, as well as outside of the spirit body. But for healing's sake, we stick to the 7 chakras. So I help people to go to the solar plexus, which is the core, right? Is the center of our being, and to connect with their third eye, right? So you've got your root chakra, your
sacral chakra, then your solar
plexus, which is where we start. And then so what we do is we do some deep breathing and some meditative stuff, and we connect the solar plexus chakra with the third eye. And then once we have that connection, then we bring in consciousness from the universal world, right? So when we bring those 3 together, we're now connected, and now understand at a higher level what is going on in our body, and we can go to those areas and bring in healing. So we want to bring in healing energy from through consciousness from the universal world, and we want to heal that area, right? So there's a lot of ways it can look, but that's just a simplified explanation of what we do. Because we know, of course, when the body starts to vibrate, that can branch out to all of our chakras, right? To the point where our entire body is elevated in energy, right? And connected and vibrating.
It sounds like, I don't think I've heard quite that technique, but like I said, and that's with your Usui Reiki that you're doing this, that's how you're doing the process, or is there more?
No,
to
that's
it?
not. No, that's not where I was trained. No. The Usui
so you
Reiki
go back.
is the
See,
full
now
body.
I'm confused, so you'll have to back up a little bit for us. So what would you call this technique?
Okay, so
what would you call this technique?
This technique is called Soma Vision. So it's a technique.
You did say that.
Developed.
You did. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So the Usui Reiki is a full body treatment, right? Which is done in Reiki fashion.
Yeah.
And what I created is a Soma Vision technique that helps us to get to the solution or the resolution a little bit faster, maybe, and a little bit, I guess we could say, deeper in a different way.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you some questions with it, because we haven't talked about this off air. We knew you were coming on. So with Soma Vision, because I've done Soma meditation, and Soma breathing techniques and things like that. So when you because I know people will be asking some of these questions as well when they hear this and find this very intriguing, because like you said, you created this, so it's something new out there. So when you get to the problem within the body, does it go down to what the root of the problem is, and does it just release it, or how does the healing occur? Just the energy comes in and dissolves it, or what happens with that?
Well, I can give you an example. So let's say, because that's the best way we learn, right? Is by examples or by stories. So let's say that someone has had a hoarse voice for days, and they've been drinking all kinds of water and gargling, and it just doesn't seem to want to go away. And it's really annoying them.
Yeah.
So they might come into the session wanting to understand what this physical issue is. So it first presents as a physical issue, because otherwise we wouldn't recognize it there.
Just
so
like
what
pain,
we would do
right?
is we would, right. It's just like a pain site, right? So you just take someone to this place of discomfort or frustration, and they will look at that. So they will actually, in this meditative state, ask that area what it's feeling. They may also see colors. They may see different shapes. They may get a feeling. So let's say, for example, that this person that comes forward while they're in the session says, "Oh, well, I remember getting scolded at work 3 days ago, or 4 days ago." And it really unnerved me, but I felt like I couldn't say anything because I didn't want to risk losing my job. So now, do you see how it can start to make sense?
Absolutely.
Because the throat chakra is our voice, right? How, our ability to speak our truth. So that person may have been constricted from being able to speak their truth because, like you said earlier, of their belief system. They believed that if they spoke up, they might lose their job. And so they kept quiet. So they pushed that down, which then created an inability for them to speak without this hoarseness, right?
I got you.
So then we look at that, and once they recognize that, and
they know the reason,
connect it, and they know the reason, then we can now bring some energy work in, and we can do a Reiki fashion type of energy healing. Right?
No, I like that. Yeah, because it
can look a little different, but
I don't think it looks different. That's where I was going with this. Is we all have different
Mhm,
gifts
mhm.
and different abilities and things that we do. And I love what you're doing. Like you said, you've created this. And I always believe, and I know we've talked about this off air too, that we, the people that are meant to work with us will work with us. And I hope eventually, you'll be able to maybe train more people in this technique, because I love it, because
Eventually, yeah,
we
yeah.
are capable of speaking to our own bodies, but the problem is slowing down our minds and everything else to be able
Yes,
to listen and hear
yeah.
that voice, because we should be able to ask our bodies exactly what you just said. Like, I knew right away as soon as you said the work thing, I knew what it was, because I do that kind of work as well. I use
Mhm,
colors, and I use Ina Segal's Secret Language of Your Body quite a bit. But I tend to,
mhm.
whereas some people don't have the time or don't feel confident in doing it. So I love what you're doing, because I usually, what I'll do is it breaks down every part of the body. It goes through quite a few illnesses. And I always tell the person when I take screenshots, for example, lower back problem. And I already can hear intuitively, what that might mean, and same as I do. But for other
Yeah,
people, I will
yeah.
take a picture of what she's describing in it. She calls that inner voice, I think she calls it the sacred inner healing, or I forget what she calls it. I don't use the big name for it. It's, yourself best, right?
Mm.
So I take a picture, but what it does when it goes through, it gives you various reasons about what could possibly be going on, or maybe has, or even in a past life. And she's going to give you, the person, questions to ask themselves. And it goes through quite a different bunch of emotions. And then it gives them various colors to work with intuitively. Now, again, can some people do this on their own? Yes, but there's a lot of people that can't. And I love what you're doing, because you're showing people, you're showing people, by working with them, because a lot of people can't do that. Like, they can't visualize like what color is, or how to
Mhm.
use, and not necessarily that you're using
Right.
color, but you're working with somebody. Hello, Mr. Fly. You're working with somebody, because there are people, a lot of people actually probably would not feel confident unless you've sort of worked within this field, I think, to be able to use a book like that.
Well,
I mean, the one I
yeah,
was
and
mentioning,
this
not
is
your
where,
book. Yeah.
when you right, right. Well, this is where when you are working in this field, you develop your intuition. You might use sense to
Hmm.
help calm that person, or you might use sound. So
Yeah.
sound's another really big one. That know about the frequency videos, so we know how powerful sound is to
Hmm.
heal our spirit and our body. So there's a lot of
Hmm.
other elements that you would bring in. But again,
Hmm.
it's tapping into your intuition, because when you're in the zone, you are connecting with that person at a deeper
Hmm.
level, and you will bring out either you will bring out those helping tools yourself, or you will ask permission. You'll ask that
Yeah.
person, do you mind if I bring this out or that out, and use it, right? I
Hmm.
mean, what this is all showing us, it's far bigger than what we even realize. I think when we're working in these fields, is that we're coming to a time in the world now where we cannot believe what we see, and we cannot
True.
believe what we hear.
Hmm.
So the only other alternative we have is to tap into consciousness and to increase our alignment with intuition, so that we can know,
Hmm.
because we'll have that
Yeah.
gut feeling. We
Yeah.
will have that gut feeling. Absolutely.
Hmm.
You know, um, we're both readers, so
Hmm.
we have others that read for us, I'm sure, and we read for them. We, do
Hmm.
tradesies, stuff like that. And
Hmm.
I had been asked by a friend to um to move in with this friend. And I had 2 readings, and both of them said, "Oh yeah, green light, go ahead. Yeah, it sounds great. Yeah, perfect. You guys get along and it's wonderful and blah, blah, blah." And I went out and spent a couple of days with this friend, and today is Monday. So yesterday morning, before I go into work, this friend decided to quit their job, and the job was dependent on staying on the premises. So imagine if I would have left my current home and packed up my stuff and brought it there, I would be homeless.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have to, there was something nagging at me that was just not allowing me to move forward, to like pack everything up and move the bed and move the table. And, so it's really, really super important that we stay connected and stay tapped in and grow our intuition so that we can, that can navigate us.
And listen, because
sometimes we don't listen.
Lots of times, I know for myself, and then I don't know about you, but and I don't like to tell people this unless you are tapped into your intuition, because I know I'm not hearing voices, and I call it my guides that I'm talking to, but I have this argument in my head with them, like, because I have some sassy guides. They're not rude, they're not unloving, they're total love and light. But I have some with, but I have that kind of personality, right? I'm not always sarcastic, but I have a little bit of a sarcasm and smart ass mouth at times. And I'll be saying, hell no. And they're like, no, really, like, you need to hear what I'm saying. Like, I'm making the suggestion that, maybe there's a reason why all these roadblocks are showing up. You may want to blah, blah, blah. And over the years, when I haven't heeded that wonderful advice, has a lightning bolt flashed down from heaven and struck me down? No, but I get to see the repercussions of why I didn't listen to, whether you want to call it that inner knowing, that gut feeling, whatever it may be. And again, it's almost in a way, I know for myself, and I'm just going to put it out there, FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. Well, what if I don't though? Like, this sounds really great. I want to do this. And that's why I always say to people when we first start the conversation, that we're never alone when we come into this lifetime. And the older I get, the more I realize that our creator, source, God, whatever you want to call him in your belief system, even if you don't believe in a higher power, they send us so many tools and accompaniment. We're never alone. Like, I never understood astrology very well. I had this lady on a couple of weeks ago. She explained it so succinctly. And when I started to realize what she had explained, because I never understood what it meant to be in this house and that house and this blah, 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 right? I had the gist of it. She explained it so simplistically and easily that I went, holy crap, that's a roadmap. Or Akashic records, or like the people that are reaching out to you and I and all the other people out there doing this. And we all have these abilities. And again, I wanted to point something out. I'm so glad you shared that story, Raine, because you know what? You went to 2 other people, and I've been involved in a situation like this very recently about somebody moving. And had gotten a reading from somebody. They had asked to do tradesies, as you said, both intuitive. And she didn't really need a reading, but they were looking for a new place to move to. And the person had said, oh God, no, don't move. No, not time till the spring. And this wasn't by choice. Like, they do need to find a place. And they had asked myself, and I even pulled out my angel board, which can be very succinct. Even with the angel board, it had said no. Okay. But Spirit had never let them down. They're very, very intuitive, like never. So it came to the end of it. And what I just added, with whether regardless of board or not, if Spirit's never let you down, set a guideline for the absolute cutoff that if nothing else shows up, then you are meant to go where you are meant to go. End of story. That's what ended up happening. And it was meant to be that way. My whole point is, you went to 2 people because, and we're not saying that intuitive readers aren't right. That's not what I'm trying to say here. They can offer a lot of good insight and answers that sometimes we can't see when the mirror is too close to our face, or we're on the inside and they're the outside. But at the end of the day, nobody knows you, anybody hearing this, better than you yourself, your higher self, whether you want to call
That's
it
right.
your super consciousness, whatever you do, it has all the answers.
Mhm.
We just have to be quiet enough to
Well,
sit and listen.
the thing is, we all have free will, and so
Mm-hmm,
they may not be able to see because that person will make a decision,
mm-hmm,
not myself, but that other
mm-hmm,
person will make a
mm-hmm,
decision that will affect us. And this is why, with palm reading,
mm-hmm,
one hand is our will and what we do with it, and the
mm-hmm,
other hand is God's will and everyone else that affects our lives and plays a role in our
mm-hmm,
lives. And you'll notice often that hand, which is the left hand, is busier with the lines are pretty much the same, but that hand will be busier than the right hand, because we can be such stubborn creatures, and that's not saying it in a bad way. We just are
mm-hmm,
focused, and
mm-hmm,
we just, we make a decision. We want to do what we want to do, but
mm-hmm,
there are other events and circumstances that come in to alter that, right?
mm-hmm,
So you're
mm-hmm.
right. It's not that those readers are incorrect.
No, not at
It's
all.
that there are other mitigating factors that influence the outcome. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's just like anything, you make a decision to turn left on a road instead of right, and then you get smucked by another car. These things happen, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
we're living in the real world,
But I
right?
want to say with healing, though, like the Soma technique you were talking about, I don't think we can go wrong. I think that if we are being called to go for a session like that, and I
Yeah.
think we need healing till the day we leave this planet because of the things that we run
Yeah.
into, the people that we meet. Like you said, making a left instead of a right, that's part of life, right? That's part of our journey here. But you can't go wrong with
Mhm.
healing. I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, but I don't think you
Well,
can.
not with the healing.
Mm-mm. No.
Well, no, because we can't. Because what we're talking about when we're talking about doing readings and palm readings and tea leaf readings and all those, and there's runes out now that are becoming popular. There's all kinds of new funky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's fortune telling, basically, right? We're tapping in, and we're going to get a certain amount of information, but we're not going to be given
Mm-hmm.
everything. We're not going to be given all of the answers, right?
Earth is a
I mean, there's
school, one of the
times,
most difficult places to come.
yeah, there's times,
Mm-hmm.
when I do a reading and someone will ask me a question, and if I can't see the answer that they want me to see, I will just flat out tell them, look, I'm not seeing anything. I can't tell you right now. They're not giving it to me, because they can't infringe on our self-will.
Our free will. Our free
Our
will.
guides, they cannot do that. So if they give us all the information all the time, we're not going to, because even
Why
as
be here?
readers and as people that are intuitive, we have to go through certain experiences as well,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well,
So,
no, and I
being
agree with you.
empathic is not always an easy road, and empathic is yet another degree. We've got another gal, Cheryl is a psychic medium. I've been friends with her for 8
Well,
years
she's
now,
coming on next
and
week.
she's
I
just,
haven't emailed her. I'm going to email her,
oh,
but I know
that's
you've been
right
talking to
too.
her.
That's right
She's
too.
coming
Yeah,
on
you
next
guys
week,
don't want to
Cheryl.
miss her.
Yeah.
She's
Mm-hmm.
just amazing. She's a wealth of knowledge about her empathic life and what it means to be an empath, and all the things that she's gone through. Knowing that you were an empath since you were 3 years old, that's
Mm-hmm.
crazy
Mm-hmm.
challenges in that alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, my gifts didn't start coming to me until, although I did have an out-of-body experience when I was 5.
Wow.
My gifts didn't. Yeah, that's when I think that they sort of planted the gift, the gift of
Mm-hmm.
compassion and the gift of intuition. But I didn't end up actually accessing it till, like I said, in my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I probably did use it when I was a teenager to keep myself safe. I don't know, but I didn't, recognize it at the time, right? So we all kind of kick in at different times, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, Cheryl's just, as far as giftings and being an empath, it's because we know it's not an easy road. People judge you, they want to know all the answers and they want your help, but they want to judge you at the same time at times. And you just have to learn to get a thick skin, as my grandmother used to say. And like a duck out of water, just let it roll off your shoulders, because you have to be true to who you are. And if you're helping people, that's what you should be doing.
Well, I always tell people before a reading, I don't do future readings. And I give the analogy, and I'm going to give Michelle Pratt a shout out in just a minute from Australia. She left a great comment I want to read. I know you're getting ready for work. I'm glad you're tuning in, Michelle. So glad to have you here. But what I was going to say is I always tell people that I don't do future readings, and I explain it like this, that almost kind of what you were saying a little bit earlier, that every morning you get up, you do the exact same thing, you jump in your car, you turn right, you go the exact same route to work. I give you an answer that maybe I see or I feel, because there are many different answers out there because we have free will. Then you get into timelines and dimensions, and that's a whole different show. But the next morning, you get up late, your alarm doesn't go off, you finally get out the door, you're late, you go to start your car, it doesn't start, so you have to take the bus, you go a completely different way. So if I do get something that comes through in the future, I tell people as I see it in this moment. Nothing is guaranteed in stone, because it all depends on the person themselves. And sometimes I don't need oracle cards. I know you don't either, Raine, but sometimes it's nice to have it so that people know, like they can see you shuffle your deck or however you do it, pull it out, and the card almost always either really
it just jumps out.
But it complements what you're saying from spirit or what have you. So it's almost like a double thing for people.
Yeah.
And I will say with empath,
well,
go ahead.
It's almost like if you, so let's say you're not using the cards and you're just using your intuition. It's kind of like, if you've got a book in front of you and you're only reading a couple of pages. But if you're using the cards, you've got a fuller deck. And so your knowledge is going to be expanded to a degree, because, the cards are going to tell you a few little things that you didn't necessarily pick up on independently.
I like to use them when I'm doing a quick reading, but I was going to say and add to that, it's not that I don't use tools. Like I said, I used the angel board recently, which has 12 different spokes with 12 different answers governed by a bunch of different main archangels, and dice are involved, and you ask
really
the question. You can pick 4 different spokes. It's large. I have a video on my YouTube channel showing how I use it. I don't use it all the time, but if we want something very specific about when it's going to happen, and there's usually most of the main things like money, family, move, yes or no. I don't know how there could be 12 different options, but there is for yes or no. So it's things like that, right? So they have their place.
Yeah.
Because I used to use my cards always as, I had somebody, one of my mentors, tell me I used it as a security blanket and I didn't need them. So she really pushed me to move beyond it. And I'm so glad that she did, because they have their place for myself, but every reader reads differently too. And I think that we draw the people that we're meant to work with to ourselves. But I got to read Michelle's comment here. She says, hello, I feel what's meant to be is meant to be. Agreed. With all options given, what you decide is what's meant to be. LOL, where I'm at. No, I think you have a point to that, Michelle, because it's the same thing about when people ask when something is going to happen. To me, and it's taken a lot to realize this personally for myself, but I believe things come to us when they're meant to happen. What's your thoughts, Raine?
Yeah.
That was an easy answer.
And think, and everything happens for a reason, and when you're really connected, it's an interesting thing, because I'll go to do something. Let's say I'm going to hang a picture up or something, and I'm I looked for nails the week before and I couldn't find any anywhere. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I'm walking in, down in the hallway, and there's a box of nails sitting on the corner of the dresser. Things like that happen all the time. It's just crazy. I can't count the times. Like, when I need something like that, it happens. Right?
Yeah, but enough now that for whatever reason you weren't meant to hang that picture in that moment. So when the nails show up, that's the time to hang the picture.
That's
The one
the
thing I was
time.
going to add about being an empath, I like when I'm mentoring with people, because I meet many people who look at it as a curse. I always like to look at it as a superpower, I say, because there's always, we live in a duality type environment right here on earth, right?
Yes.
So there's
Yeah.
going to be good things and there's going to be not so great things with it. But if we can tend to focus more on what are the great things, I think we bring more and more
That's
to
right.
ourselves. It's almost like gratitude, right? The more we're thankful for
Mm-hmm.
things, the more things come to us to be able to be thankful for. And
Yeah.
so, think about it as an empath. You can pretty well pick up when somebody's lying or when somebody, you know what I'm saying? Or,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
there's many good things to being an empath, but it can be very
Absolutely.
difficult as a young child, like you
I
mentioned with Cheryl.
well, I know
Mm-hmm.
I know people that have shut it off. That you'll
My son
be in
has.
a conversation with them and they'll say, well,
Mm-hmm.
I used to do this and I used to do that and I used to, I actually used to find missing people and whatever
Mm-hmm.
their,
Yeah.
their thing was that they did, and they just shut it off because
Yeah.
they became overwhelmed, and it can be
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming, but there are also ways to shut it off
Mm-hmm.
temporarily. There's
Oh,
ways to
yeah.
block your energy. There's ways
Mm-hmm.
to distract yourself. Like when I'm at work, I may be doing the readings and the Reiki and that, when I'm there, but then when I come home, that's my time, right? So that's my time to hang out with my fur babies and what?
Mm-hmm. She's talking about, I'm going to say it's not a bad word. Michelle said, talking about being an empath, that bullshit meter goes off.
Oh,
And
she's
LOL,
saying,
sorry if
yeah,
I said a
yeah,
bad word. It's not a bad word. It's
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. No, that's not. Yeah, yeah, totally,
Mhm.
Michelle. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
right on the money there. So
absolutely.
like we just have to learn. All of this is, we're all learning and we're all growing, and we just have to learn how to deal with it, how to shut it off when we don't want it on full
And we
strength.
have that right.
And
We have that
yeah,
right
yeah.
when I'm mentoring with people, because I'm sorry, I always say it's not my job to judge, but I am going to pull an example from TV. And I always say this really could be her life. This could be how she operates. But when we see the Long Island medium and she's out for dinner and it's like, oh my God, I can't eat my dinner. Spirit won't go away. Spirit's coming up, blah, 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 blah. You don't have to operate that way.
Mm-hmm,
So I'm not
mm-hmm.
judging her. What I'm saying is, could it be that way? Absolutely. But
Yes,
I always
yes, it
teach
can.
people, or like you
Yeah,
said, when you go home and it's your fur babies or it's your time, you've made that clear that, or like I have people that get woken up in the middle
yeah.
of the night. Many of us do by spirit. And you set the parameter that I do not
Mm-hmm,
want to be woken this evening. I need a full night's sleep. Or when I put this
mm-hmm,
ring on or this necklace or I light this candle or whatever it is, we're open for business.
mm-hmm.
But once that is
Right.
extinguished, once I take that off, sorry, we're closed. No vacancy, whatever you want
Mm-hmm.
to say. I'm not
Yeah.
open for business. End of story. Mm-hmm.
So
We
you
have that right.
mentioned that, well, and we have that right as a human being. We're
Mm-hmm.
living in the
Yeah.
human condition. So
Yeah.
we have to live our lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
You also mentioned the duality piece, and I think that's really where we're heading, and that's why it's important for all of us to learn this, is that we will be living a dual existence in a sense. Like, do
Mm-hmm.
you want to choose to live like an earthly bound? And when I say materialistic life, I don't mean that you're going to live like a
Popper.
monk with, nothing. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but that, and then there's the whole spiritual aspect and consciousness and being tapped in, which is extremely important to help guide you in your life and also to help others. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I did a reading for someone several years ago, and actually what happened was I didn't have my cards with me, and she wanted me to do a reading, so we just did it, freestyle.
I'm sure
And
it was
she asked
awesome
me,
because I've heard
it
your
was,
messages.
yeah, and she said, well, how about my dad, because she was a little concerned about his health. And I said, oh no, he doesn't have very long. And she said, well, how long? And I said, probably about 2 weeks at the most. And that's what I was getting to, right? I said,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel like it's 2 months. It feels like it's, maybe 2 weeks. And she said, oh, because I think this was like around April. And she said, well, because we wanted to go and visit this summer, but, and we were going to like do dinner and pictures and everything. And I said, oh, you'd better do it sooner than that. So they did actually go out within a week or two and had dinner with Dad and took pictures with the grandchildren and all of that kind of stuff. And literally like, you know, a very short period of time after that, he passed away and he went on to the next world. So she was so grateful for that. I mean, think of how awful it would have been. I mean, you live through what you lived through. She would have lived through not
There've
having
been so many regrets.
had that time. There would have been regrets, right? So, you know, they had that special time together because I was willing to share the truth, right? So, or what I was receiving as the truth.
I think we especially have to really be careful. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I think we got a delay. It seems like there's a pause and I'll start talking.
We do
talk over you, hon. Sorry.
Yeah. No, we do. We have a delay. Well, we just want to be careful, you know, in how we relay information to people. You know, as an empath, you don't want to go up to someone and scare the heck out of them. But if it's something that's really pressing that you feel that you need to share with that person, then it's important to share it.
Well, I think it's important too in this field, especially, and again, this is not being said with any judgment, but I think we really have a responsibility to be very truthful with people. The other thing I will always tell people before a reading, because I get a lot of people coming to me that my daughter's having a lot of problems and I wanted to have a reading about this. So I always tell them there are ways we can ask questions that you may be best able to assist or help. But if it's anything regarding your daughter personally, could I do it? Yes. Will I do it? No, because to me, that is like breaking into somebody's house, walking in and helping myself into everything uninvited. And again, that's just the way I describe it. But can we? Of course we could. If you're able to go into energy, energy is energy. But should I do it? In my book, no. But I think we have a responsibility because there's already people that don't necessarily believe in this type of stuff. I find that the doorway, like we've been taught, you just said it earlier, like we're it's almost like it's opening up. But I think, you know, in order to, I think honesty is the best policy, especially with the type of work that we do.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So you've got
so when
Cheryl
we're talking
in there?
about the Soma vision.
Okay.
I just wanted to mention when we're talking about the Soma vision. So first of all, we're going to do a somatic identification with the body. And then we want to come up with a
for people and me?
Soma is of the body.
Okay, no, but somatic identification. What is that exactly?
So it's identifying the pain or the discomfort or whatever is going on in your body, right?
Okay.
And then you want to come up with a solution-based orientation, and that's how we were talking about, you know, going to the space that the issue is residing in and understanding what's going on there and asking it. I mean, many years ago, I did a course called Transformational Energy, whereby you talk to the body parts, right? So, you know, if you had a headache, for example, you would go in and you would literally talk to the mind and ask it why, you know, or if your heart is aching, you would go to the heart and you would ask it why it's aching. And then you take notice of the color of it, of the shape of it, of the, is it, you know, do you sense an odor with it and all that kind of stuff, right? And then you want to bring in that mindful consciousness with spirit, right? Like you say, the superpower, you want to bring in the big guns.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we are super powerful beings, and we do have the ability to stand in our power and stand in who we are. You know, and it's important that we do that, because when we do that, we're healing ourselves, and we're connecting with the identity of who we truly are. Because think of it, our whole lives we're told what we can and cannot do, our whole life.
And lots of times what
when
we
we're
aren't,
children, our parents are
and
telling
what
us
we're
what
not,
can
or
and
what we're
cannot do.
not capable of.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
school system, at the church, at the grocery store, then it's teachers and bosses, and I mean the list is endless. There we live on the earth, and there are rules that we follow on the earth. It's earth rules. It's the rules in consciousness are much different, right? Like you say, you can talk to your guides and you can ask them for guidance. They're not going to, it's not the same as the 3D earth
They're not
realm,
going to tell
right?
you. They're not going to tell you what to do, and they're not able to give you all the answers. If they're able to, sometimes they'll say, I can't answer that for you, or you know what I mean? Or
At this
but I
time.
also,
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
but you can also pay attention. Like, I think what we forget, and this is another one of my messages, teaching humanity that we are so much more powerful, like you said, than we've ever been thought or taught to believe or even entertain the thought of. And, so they lead us by, like you said, let's go back to your about should I move example. And there was a lot of roadblocks, right? And something just didn't sit right. We have the
It
ability,
was a
all of us,
feeling.
to feel that.
It
Yeah,
was
we
a
have the
feeling in my
abilities,
gut.
all of us. We all have that.
I didn't know what the answer was. I didn't have the words. Sometimes we get the words, sometimes we get the pictures, but it was a feeling. And when it happened, I went, yep, there it is.
Oh, there it is.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It's just like when you have a dream or you have deja vu. You'll go throughout your day and then something will happen. Let's say in your dream, you were at the mall and you saw someone walk by. And then you're literally at the mall the next day and someone walks by just like in your dream. Like just slowly walks by, right?
Yeah.
And you go, there it is, right? It's just them showing us. Maybe there wasn't any big message there. It was just that it's just them showing us that we're on the right path. Number 4, you're on the right path.
Yeah.
So,
I hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole our angels and hey, think of it. When we go up there, do we want to just be sitting around doing nothing? We're dead. No, we want to be out there helping people and and being angels of light,
Well,
educating people and helping.
Studying near-death experiences for personally and professionally for 40 years now. And I've spoken with many people on my old network. I haven't had them back on here. I should probably do a show like this. They claim they've been to heaven. I had 2 people on a show once on my old network. I used to do a show Monday through Friday, and they'd never met each other. One of them claimed that he was an angel in a past life and knew me. It was quite an interesting story. I've told it on this show before. I had they said I was part of, believe it or not, the fairy realm. And I have had confirmation again from a third person who was a mentor of mine that I've told it on this show quite a few times, so I won't repeat it, but holy cow, that there was no way these people would have been able to confirm it, and they did. Anyways, the 2 people on my show never met. One claimed he was an angel in a past life and knew me at the time as part of the fairy realm. It's a really cool story. It'll be in one of my books. And then the other person has had strange things happen to them their whole life. And they didn't have a near-death experience. They literally were on the couch, I think, with their sister and a friend in college. And they stood up to go grab something. And all of a sudden, they weren't in their living room anymore. They were finishing where certain buildings were in heaven and what really happens in heaven. And these 2 had never met each other. So, and this was a live show. They hadn't corroborated with each other. But as I understand it, and there's been far too many stories and books and things, people sharing personal stories, that we have jobs on the other side. I mean, if you really want to just go there and put your feet up forever, I guess you could. But we have healers. They have like doctors and healers on the other side that will come in and help assist with the work, like say that you do or I do. There are they go to school.
I have a
go
friend
back there.
Oh yeah, there is a school. Yeah, there is a school that we attend. So now this is my theory on it. I don't know, but you know how we're conditioned in our brain with the biblical understandings and all of that. Oh, you're going to hell if you commit suicide, and that. That when we make choices like that, when we do cross over, we do. We have like almost like think of purgatory, the levels. We sort of have like levels or educational grades that we have to go through before we can move on and move up and move forward. Because let's say we chose to take our life, even though we may have been in mental and emotional torment, and that anguish, we wanted to relieve that anguish. It's important that we understand in the next world why we did it, why it's not good to do it, yada, 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 right? So
I have a different belief system.
While we're over
I have a
there.
different belief system about
Let's
that.
hear it.
Okay. Now, I always say none of us are going to know the answers till we transition back home ourselves. That's what I call it.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay. So I think I've done a lot of learning. And again, it could be all BS, but there is somebody right in the beginning years ago. Well, not right in the beginning. It was a few years after I'd started this journey. And I found this website called channelingeric.com. And it was the story of a mother who was a doctor, was an atheist with 5 children, came in Texas, and her 3rd child had severe Tourette syndrome and depression. Anyways, long story short, and he was quite a character. Apparently liked to smoke the green stuff, apparently had really smelly socks, all kinds of stuff. There's a reason why I'm telling you all this. So I guess her sister was in town. He was home. They had a nanny with her being a doctor, and I believe her husband was an engineer or something. She needed some help while she was working with 5 kids. She stayed on with in the house as the children grew up, to stay as a housekeeper. She was part of the family. So they were going out for lunch. The mom, the aunt, and the sister that was almost like a twin to Eric. And they asked Eric if he wanted to come. He said, no, I'm just going to stay home. I'll be fine. Well, apparently not 5 minutes down the road, mom gets a call. Her name is Elisa, that the housekeeper heard a gunshot. She was screaming. And mom said, you got to go up and see what's going on. And she was driving home and the housekeeper started to scream. And mom describes all this, okay? What happened? It was horrific. It would be anybody's nightmare, but especially a parent. They don't believe in the afterlife. They don't believe in God. All of a sudden, things start happening. And her parents were surgeons. They lived over in Europe somewhere. And her father was a very staunch person, not a jokester in any way, shape, or form. And she got a phone call from her father. But a week after Eric passed, and he said, I think I'm going crazy. And she said, why? He said, Eric just showed up, appeared to me as a little boy, like a 4-year-old at 4 years of age, sat on my lap, kissed me on the cheek and said, I love you, Papa. The whole family started experiencing this, smelling the green stuff, like when he would smoke it, the distinctive odor of the stinky socks. They were seeing him, all kinds of stuff. So mom, Elisa, starts thinking, what's going on here? So she starts doing research. She still has a channel. She has a podcast, but she connects with Eric on the other side through various mediums. And I really do believe they are connecting with Eric on the other side. Eric has shown up at my house. I know he has, because you smell that green stuff and nobody is smelling it, or nobody is smoking it. He's quite a jokester. He does a lot of stuff. But the cool part about it is, and she's gotten into some interesting healing modalities over the years. She just started a new endeavor. I forget what it's called. But they've interviewed Eric about many, many, many things that happen on this planet. There's been interviews that she has received a lot of flack about, including apparently interviewing potentially Jesus, what have you. But the reason why I know Elisa, she had actually asked me at one time if I wanted to be a guest medium. And I just didn't feel drawn to do it at the time. But my whole point is, she's never, in the beginning, I don't know about now, she's never accepted a penny. She paid for this all out of her own pocket. to put this out there. And I do know the first medium that she connected with, Jamie Butler. She now has her own channel and own business, but that lady was pretty dead on about a lot of stuff. So I encourage you to take a look at it, because as I understand it, in studying near-death experiences, I believe we build in exit points in our lives, including, because some of us have some pretty difficult lives that we create for ourselves before we incarnate. And I think we have the choice, because then you get into things like walk-in souls. You can get into all kinds of things like that. So to me, and it seems to make a lot of sense to myself anyways, that Earth is a school and it's almost like a play. And I've heard many people say this who've had near-death experiences.
Dolores Cannon talks about that.
Many people, not just Dolores, so people have had near-death experiences that when they looked at it all from up above, realizing that it was just this big stage. They were the main player. The cast of characters were coming in. They could see the cast of characters coming in from the outside. We come in with spiritual amnesia. We come in with these heavy, dense, fragile bodies. So I don't know. I almost feel like, and I had somebody Canadian on here, Garnet Schulhauser, and we were talking about this. He said he was a lawyer near the end of his career in Calgary one day, out walking, and claims he met his spirit guide Albert on the street as a homeless man. It was quite interesting.
I watched your show on that.
Okay.
I watched your show on that.
So we talked about that. We talked about, and I really believe, think about it, he's in that show, he had said, if you play a murderer on TV, or you play, or like a movie or whatever, right? When the movie's over, the movie's over. You move on either to the next role or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe it's the same way with life, if you think about it. Maybe, because Eric claims that this was an exit. He claims this was an exit point built into his life.
So everything that you, everything that you've said, is I believe all of that. I mean, they connect with us. There was a priest years ago that had lost his son, and he didn't believe, in the same way like we do. And his son started coming and visiting him all the time. Like the clock would ding at a certain time all the time, like every day. And as he investigated it, he found out that, spirits, when they move on to the next world, that they actually communicate with you. And then he became a believer, right? So, I mean, I've had many of not many, but, some of my friends that have passed on, and family come to me in my dreams, or
easiest way
talking to me. So, there's got to be something to it, right? There's got to be something to it.
And as a nurse, I am writing a book. Actually, it's interesting. Your book, you said the Healing Oracle. I always forget the first name. Healing
Oracle.
Oh, I know it's an H word. Sorry. Yeah. I'm so sorry. I have so many people on with different books. I apologize. Holistic Oracle. Okay. I am writing 3 books. My 3rd book, and I'm collecting the stories now, mainly from nurses, and myself having worked. I've been there at the beginning of life, hundreds of times in the NICU, and the end of life with people working in palliative care. But as nurses and first responders, but not so much nurses, and you see a lot of nurses get into the field that we're in, or the caring professions like you were in yourself, because we see so many unexplainable, incredible things in life that there's no explanation.
That's going to be a fascinating book.
Got some cool stories already from some nurses that are completely unexplainable.
It's so funny that you say you're writing 3 books. It seems like once we write one, we just want to keep on writing. I've got 3 on the go. Like this one's heading out soon, right? So I mean,
when is it ready?
People can pick up the ebook offer on September 30th, and then the actual physical copy and the launch of the book will be October 8th. So, and we'll have book signings all over. We're going to do one in Alberta, one in Saskatchewan, and one in Ontario.
I wanted to... go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's the goal. And then, and then it's like, okay, I've got, 2 or 3 others that I've started. So, winter will be a good time to work on them. And, the next one I'd like to do on the supernatural and
Ooh.
people's experiences with the supernatural and seeing spirits and near-death experiences and all that kind of stuff, right? So, I've had some people express interest in wanting to be a part of that. So, yeah.
I'm definitely well-versed in the supernatural because you talked about what people's impetus is for, starting the journey that they do, that things that we're doing. I've always been aware of my gifts and my abilities as an empath, especially not realizing there was a label for it. I found out in third year university. I was walking into one of my nursing classes and something had happened and I was upset about it. I don't know what it was. I don't get upset that often, but I was, and I didn't say a word. I didn't slam my books down. I just came in and sat down. And I remember my professor, her name was Gwen. And like I said, this is a nursing class, and she stops the class because I was a few minutes late. And she says, "Do you realize, Lorilei, that if you walk into a room, that if you're in a not so great mood, I can definitely tell that you're not, that you affect the whole room. And when you are in a happy mood, it affects the whole room." And I remember my mouth dropped because nobody had ever said anything to me like that now. And I'd always been trying to find out, what did she exactly mean? Like, how would she have known I would? And now I know. Now I know
Right,
exactly
of
what she
course.
meant.
Of
Yes.
course. It's kind of like my experience when I walked into psychology, one of the psychology classes in university.
Yeah.
And they were talking about, the instructor was talking about, like, there's things are a coincidence, like, things don't just happen. And I said, well, what about when, you're thinking about someone? Me, I courageously raised my hand. What about when you're thinking about someone and the phone rings and it's them? And he said, well, that's nonsense. That doesn't happen. And I just shrunk in my seat, right? And I'm like, what the heck? That kind of stuff happens all the time, right? And then afterwards, right, you go, okay, he was just totally blocked into the science of, the mind.
We're able to be telepathic. I believe we were centuries ago. And I have a good friend I have on here quite a bit. I need to have him back on, Augie Nost. And he's on Broadcast Team Alpha. He does a podcast with Nori Love. It's fantastic. Make sure you guys check them out. They're on YouTube and wherever. But he gave people this exercise, and I'll repeat it in case you've never heard it. But what he said is, because he runs something called the Mastermind on Sundays and Wednesdays. Anybody can go. You just have to email broadcastteamalpha@gmail.com. And they focus, what he believes is when two or more minds are focused on the same thing energetically, we can heal, we can create, we can do whatever we want to with that focused energy, right? So he was teaching people about telepathy on one of my shows. And he said, next time you're in line, doesn't matter if it's a grocery store, the store, movies, whatever. He told people, or suggested people, focus I'll put my hair up, right at the nape of people's neck, right here in front of you. And keep repeating in your mind as you're staring at that, because it'll help you focus, right? Turn around, turn around. Turn around, and just keep repeating it in your mind. He said it may not happen the first time, but keep practicing. He said you will see people turn around with the most puzzled look on their face, like, did you just call me? Did you? Why? And then they look at you and you're just innocently standing there. It works, and they've proven it with science. Because that's what I was going to ask you 2 questions about, Soma. One of them was it'll probably take a longer answer. So I'll ask both of them and you can choose what way you want to answer them. One of them is, do you need to be in person to do your work, or can people do it? Like, does distance make a difference? And the other one, because Spirit keeps nagging me to ask this, have you worked with people with cancer with this? Are you able to, and that's not a judgment, just wondering if you've done it or not, or what it's shown you.
Yeah. So no, I haven't worked with anyone that has had cancer.
Yeah, that would be a lot to unravel.
What was the first question?
Distance. Do you need to have people right in, like, say, in front of you, or?
No,
I didn't think so. Yeah.
No,
okay.
You can do it online. Yeah.
Good.
You can do it on the phone. You can do it online. Like, think of it. I mean, like, you were talking about your example with this guy in the grocery store. And when you think of it, let's say two people are in a heated argument, right?
Yeah.
Let's say maybe not even heated right away. So they're in an argument and you can see the argument escalating in one and then the other and then what ends up happening, right, is this like complete meltdown and freak out on both their parts, right? So that's an example of heated energy. And when if say you walked into the room, you're going to be impacted by them arguing, right? You're going to kind of maybe stop for a second and go, do I really want to walk into this room? Or
afterwards, even
unless you know them,
feel it.
Yeah. Unless you know them really well and, you want to say something, that's fine. Then if you look at two people that are laughing and smiling and loving each other, how do you feel when you're around them, right? I mean, like,
it's infectious.
It's infectious. You're going to feel that energy on your body. You're going to feel it. You're going to feel it in your heart. You're going to like just even like they've done studies where they say, okay, well, frown, right? And if you walk around like that, pretty soon your mind starts thinking negative thoughts. But if you walk around smiling, and then it increases, the serotonin in your brain, obviously, and now you're happy, So there's something to this body thing that helps us. Another thing I'll just, this is just coming to me. They want me to share this is, for so many years, because, being a survivor of sexual abuse is a very difficult path to walk. And I know many people that, like I had suffered depression and anxiety over many years. And, I ended up moving out west. And all my family is in Ontario. So that's been difficult, not being able to see them. But I had to learn, how to deal with all of that baggage myself, because I'm the only one that's going to help me. Right.
That's right.
And there was a point to this. What did they want me to say?
Don't you love when that happens, when your mind's going a mile a minute? As you keep talking, it'll come. That's what happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
Because we've got so much going on in our minds. So you were talking about, like you said, you moved out west.
The words, to have the words.
It'll come back. I'll read Michelle's
I think it's just comment. Because I got stuck, Okay.
Oh, don't feel bad. This happens to me lots, but for me,
I don't feel bad.
No,
I don't. But
good.
Spirit
will give it to you again. But it sounds like that you were sharing, though, and I think you made an important point. Even if your family had been close by, okay, even if somebody, a friend, anybody that had experienced sexual abuse, like you mentioned, it's not what you experienced, and nobody knows you as well as you know you. You were the one that had to do the work. You were the one that had to go in there and make the choice to heal, like you said, the anxiety.
For a long time, many years, many different types of healing. So that's where I was going with it. Thank you.
I knew it.
Thank you for getting me back on track. So
that's okay.
It's all about finding what works for you. And any one thing doesn't necessarily work. It takes a lot of things to make it work for you.
And it's a bigger
the reality of it. And
a bigger gift to you to go to many different modalities and try many different aspects.
Right. And there's still so many more. Like, I feel like, even in the field, you're so educated in all the things you do, and we all do what we can, but we're just scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Absolutely.
There's so much more for us to do. And as we learn and grow, we share with others, and we help others to heal, and we help others to expand. So, for example, in our company, we tap into art. It's a form of art therapy, but
I love it.
Art, creating art, creative art, creative writing, all of these things, music,
Absolutely.
I was actually able, I didn't have much of a summer because I was working on the book and working all summer. And I was able to get away last weekend to a
Good
festival,
for you.
actually not far from here. And it was just one, like I literally for the last 3 weeks, everyone, and even today, the phone has not stopped ringing.
Wow.
Mercury retrograde for sure, right? Because it's like, you have things to do. So of course, all of the energy is coming in to, create chaos, right? But what I did was, I went on the Saturday night and just danced, like seriously.
Yay!
For 6 hours. 6 hours straight.
I love it. I wish I could have been there with you.
Happy. And just met so many. It was just me hitting the table. And just made so many new friends and talked to some people that I already knew, and it just showed me, even when we have had very little sleep or we're stressed out or whatever, when we connect with fun, how it elevates our vibration to the
Absolutely.
max, right?
Absolutely.
I was like floating for the whole week. Like and then we sat
saw
around the
your
campfire.
post. I saw
and
your
played
post.
guitar
Something
and
came up.
sang and oh my God, it was just like, and everybody just kept saying, it was such an amazing weekend. Oh, that was so awesome.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. Yeah. So we need
I saw
that
your
too.
post. I saw your post. It came up in my feed because I haven't been on social media a whole ton, and it came up, and you could feel it and see.
I was just beaming. Yeah.
Yes, it was infectious. Like just the energy from that picture.
Exactly.
I want to read Michelle's comment quickly. We only got a few minutes left. Doesn't this go by quick?
Are you kidding me?
I swear to God to you.
Smokes, we got a whole bunch more to talk about.
Well, you're just going to have to come back on. Michelle says, when I go somewhere and need a good parking spot, I'll add, she said a good park. I repeat, let there be a nice, easy parking spot. Repeat. A friend thought I was crazy. Now she also does the same thing. I do it all the time. I usually just ask the angels. And when I get into the car, I always say, angels, please stay with me, protect me, as well as the cars around me. And because I trust that they're there. And or a parking spot, or like if I got to go to the doctor's or something, because I can't make an appointment and I have to see him once a month. And if I remember to do it, and I ask him, could I please get in quickly? I need to get this done for whatever reason. It works, people.
Yeah. And a lot of times, like, I was just talking to someone on the weekend. She said she does the same thing, but it's like you're chasing license plates, right? So you're driving and you're driving and you end up behind someone and it says 8888, right? And you're like,
pay attention.
Right? Pay attention, right? Because eights are all about abundance, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we, our angels are with us, and they do drop cues and hints and
dimes and quarters in your sundress when you're driving out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's just crazy. No, seriously, they even had me puzzled. Okay, I was like, what the heck? I pulled the visor down. I'm like, no, I wouldn't put money up there. It would be in my wallet. Like, it was just crazy.
You want to be beamed up? Michelle says, I keep asking for it. Beam me up, Scotty. And she put Star Trek. Girl, you don't have to say Star Trek. We'll know.
Yeah. Well,
so where can people find you? Where can people, like I said, we're almost out of time.
Well, it's at this Somatic Visionary Studio. Contact at somaticvisionarystudio.com. So they can just catch me on the website there. The book will be uploaded probably the end of this week, and they can shoot me a message if they want to, jump on and do a session with me of any kind. If they want to, they want to deal with some trauma, or they just, whatever. Maybe they want a reading, whatever their need is. Maybe they want to write a book. So I have about 3 or 4 spots open for the fall. For the self-publishing piece. So yeah, there's lots going on, and just, stand strong, guys. Stand in your power and in your superpower, and be everything that you can be.
That's right. And like I say, you can never go wrong with healing. That's why I specifically asked Raine if you had to be in front of her, and you don't. You can do this
No,
distance
no.
wise. It's just as effective. So make sure you guys do check her out. I'm going to have her back
Yes.
on. Like I said, I'm having Cheryl. I haven't messaged her. She knows about it. I know because Raine's let her know, but I need to message her. I'll be messaging her to confirm tomorrow. But she will be back on. She'll be on, not back on for the first time next Monday, same time, same space. Remember, I had mentioned if you're just joining in, I will be joining the Dell this week on Thursday, 7 p.m. Central. Sorry, Eastern. I keep saying Central. Eastern. For an hour on the delicious recipe, we're going to have Tom Riley back on. We are going to be talking about the Da Vinci Code again, continuing our series. If you ever want to get a hold of me, get a hold of me on facebook.com/Angel Rock for anything. Whether you got a show idea, maybe you've got a question. A lot of people reach out for, even lately, I've been seeing for some paranormal help, or you want to book a reading or a healing session, or you've got a show idea, anything like that, guest idea. And I've got 2 groups on Facebook, Paranormal University for all things paranormal, and the Angel Rocker Tribe for many of the things we talked about this evening and more. So I want to thank Raine again. Love her so much. I will have her definitely back on again very soon. Laura. And
Thanks for
wherever
having
you
me.
No, thank you for being here. It was my pleasure. Like I said, I'm going to have you back on again soon. Michelle, thanks for being here. Anybody else whose comments I wasn't able to see, or if you're listening on the replay, thank you so much. Please share this with everybody you know that you feel this may be helpful with. We've got something for everybody on United Public Radio Network. So please share our network and the shows that are on here. And until next Monday again, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be. I send you all so much love and light. Take care. We'll see you next Monday.
Bye.
Bye.